Now we are being recorded. So keep that in mind that anything that is picked up by your microphone or your camera will be of public record. We will post the recording to our YouTube page, which you can find on YouTube if you look for Local Workforce Area 23. And we will send out a link of the recording to all of the members. Secondly, please keep your microphone muted when not actively speaking. To mute your phones, for those of you who called in, please press *6, and to unmute to speak, you press *6 again. So without further ado, I will turn it over to Mike to call the order.
Great, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Let's go ahead and do the roll call and get that out of the way, and we'll start going with the meeting.
All right, Kevin Busher.
Present.
Mike Conley.
Here.
Mike Conrad.
Here.
Patty Metzger. Jill Michael.
Here.
Deacon Patient. Chris Stroll.
Here.
Kim Taylor.
Here.
Carol Tracy. Jennifer Wagner. And Connie Waldrop. Okay.
Jennifer Wagner was hopeful to be able to make it today. She may be a few minutes late though.
Okay. Debbie, do we have a quorum?
We sure do. We've got 6.
Fantastic. Good deal. Okay, let's go ahead and do item number 2, review and approval of the December 10th, 2020 minutes that Debbie had sent us in our packet. Can I get a motion to approve?
This is Kim. I can make the motion.
Can I get a second?
Second by Jill Michael, National Able.
Excellent. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. We'll go on to the conflict. If anybody has a conflict of interest disclosure at this time, please discuss that with us so we can get going with the meeting. I hear of no conflict of interest, so Debbie, go ahead and start with your grant recipient fiscal agent reports.
All right. All of you should have gotten the packet. The first thing we'll start with is the statement of expenditures. Right now, we're at 58.1%, and 7 out of 12 months comes out to 58%, so we are right on track. A couple things I just wanted to bring up since we met last, the medical benefits. We found out in the meantime, January 1st, the medical itself did not change at all. So we should be under budget on that at the end of the fiscal year. The dental and vision, I think, changed very slightly, but overall we should be in good shape with that since we did budget for, I think, a 5% increase as of January 1st. So rental facilities, as Jamie noted in our last newsletter, that we did get moved to the new building on campus. And we just found out this week that starting July 1st, our rent is actually going to go down. So we can look forward to that as of July 1st. And then just want to point out administrative expense. We are done for the year. We have hit 100% of that paid to Lakeland. So anybody have any other questions on that report? Okay, we shall move on. Next one is the accounts payable report. Not a whole lot of different items on that. We did pay the directors and officers insurance in December. And then we had one incumbent worker and a couple reimbursements to Versatech for the emergency layoff grant, but otherwise pretty well normal stuff. Any questions on that one? Okay, we shall move on to the key metrics report. The The only things wanted to point out for that, we've got a couple of items that we are not meeting currently. The obligations for the 20 grant, we've got a couple items. Adult is in the ballpark. Youth is definitely has some work to do to get caught up, which that's going to be sort of our next topic with the youth work experience. As you can see on that very last item, we are at 8.9% for the 20 grant for the youth work experience. So we definitely have some work to do on that one also. But all of the other items we are sitting okay on. Are there any questions on this one? Okay, so that leads into the next topic was the youth work experience. We just wanted to bring up and see if anybody has any ideas on what we can do to possibly get more youth or get some of that money spent. We are more than willing to hear suggestions and try and get the word out that we have money to spend and trying to get it done as soon as possible.
Is there anyone from IECC on the call?
I don't think so.
I met with Kathy Swinson, who is now doing some grant writing for IECC, and Sharmila, who is the Director of Adult Education for the ICCE group. They are looking at writing a grant for a youth career pathway. I just met with them yesterday afternoon. They were asking some questions about alternative ed as far as how we run our alternative high school. They're looking at possibly writing for that grant. And it sounds like, Jamie, and I know you've got a meeting coming up with Kathy Swinson, it sounds like that would be students that would likely be eligible for possibly out of school youth because they're looking at students who have dropped out. I don't know how many students they are looking at possibly serving, but they are working on that grant, and that grant is due to DCEO, I think the end of April.
I have Elaine and I actually will be meeting with Amy Delaney, the new Perkins representative at IECC next Friday. So I'll definitely take the opportunity to see what information she has on it, and maybe we can get Kathy Swinson on the phone, or she can be there and we can get some more details on what is going to happen with that grant.
We also, Kaskaskia, have been awarded a Workforce Equity Initiative grant that was just sort of begun implementation on fairly recently. And one of the components, well, the primary focus of the grant is to place minority populations into training and workforce within a year's time in a living wage position. So we would like to be able to, I mean, we feel like the majority of the grant participants are probably going to be WIOA eligible. I don't know what percentage of that will be youth. Just to make sure I understand, youth, in-school youth 16 to 24, is that the age bracket that we're dealing with, or what's the qualification?
Hey, Mike, the in-school youth is 16 through 21.
Through 21.
Out of school is 16 through 24.
Okay, so these, if they're, I mean, if they enroll in our program, they're going to be in school in terms of being in one of our CTE programs, but they may very well be out of school in terms of high school graduation. So how would that work?
Requirements.
I'm sorry.
As far as the age requirement.
Right. So if they're not in high school currently, they would qualify for the out-of-school youth?
Be an out-
No, not if they're in school, not if you've been already enrolled them in school. They're in school.
Wouldn't we have to get them as, if they've been out a semester? Then we can count that as long as they are applied to the program before they start Mike's program. Then they could be considered out-of-school youth that you've brought back in. Is that correct?
Yes.
Well, from a timing standpoint, most of them are probably not going to start until the fall, although they may be in our program, participating in our grant program in the summer. They won't actually be enrolled in classes until the fall, more than likely. Most of these are going to be one semester certificate classes.
We just don't want to know that they're enrolled.
Correct. I understand. So is there a mechanism or an easy mechanism for us to try to determine whether they're going to be WIOA eligible? In other words, can we try to get them all in one place at one time and do that? Can our personnel screen them, or how does that need to work?
We could have one of our staff come in, and we've got some profile sheets that is kind of a one-page information, and just talking, to the student, we would get a really good idea whether or not they would be WIOA eligible.
Okay.
That saves a lot of time bringing them in to do the whole application process. So there's questions we can ask right up front. We get a pretty good idea.
Okay, would I coordinate with you then, Lori, in terms of trying to set that up?
Either myself or Elaine.
Okay, okay.
Be great.
We view that, I'm sorry, I don't want to belabor the point here necessarily, but I mean, the grant program is going to pay for their tuition, books and fees and those kinds of things, but we'd primarily be looking for the employer benefit. In other words, wage offsets so that we could ease the transition into employment for them. That's still fair game, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Any other thoughts on the youth work experience? Sounds like we definitely have some good leads, so. Okay, we shall move on to the training versus overhead report. The first page, that's just showing the adult and dislocated worker. We're currently at 70.8%, which is well above our 50% requirement. So we are sitting good there. And then overall on the second page, we're sitting at 65.6%. So all is looking good there. Any questions with that one? Okay, we'll move on to the MOU invoices billing. We have received back from many of the partners. We billed it out early December, and IDES, that one always, the last time, as you can see, we got paid early August. So I'm anticipating it being the same way for this year's. And then we just have a few other ones to get in, and then we should be well taken care of. So any questions on the MOU invoices? Okay, we shall move on to the incumbent worker projects report. As you can see, we've actually had a few updates since this was sent out last week, but as of whenever this went out, we had almost 51,000 that was available. But Tony, let me see. I think in the meantime, we've added Americana down in Salem, which is going to be 13,000 some. And then I think TPS in Newton, that was going to be almost 11,000. So we have taken a chunk of change out of that since then. And right now we are, with those updates, showing at a little over 26,000 left. So We are sitting pretty good on the incumbent worker projects, but still willing to hear some, if anybody else has any other ideas or businesses in their area that could benefit from it. So any questions on this one?
Hey, Debbie, before we move on from the incumbent worker training, since this committee is the committee that approves anything over $10,000, I want to put something in your ear that we haven't made a decision on yet. Mac Plastics in Alney has, they've got a proposal to me for over $18,000. We have done training with them 3 different times when they were Jabbit, and then 2 times when they were Jabbit and 1 time when they were Mac Plastics. So over the course of the last 5 or 6 years, we've probably given them, I'm going to guess $30,000, if not more. My question might be, and it'll come out in an email once Jamie and I have a good chance to talk, and Debbie, about where our numbers are going to be. We're going to decide if we're going to do the $10,000 with them or try to fund the entire thing of $18,000. But if we did that, that leaves, what's that leave, Debbie, like $8,000 maybe
Yeah.
in the incumbent worker. So for the course of this year, going through June, we might be able to pick up 1 more project, or we would we'd have to modify our budget to put more money into that incumbent worker line item. So that's just something, I mean, if anybody has any suggestions that they want to talk about, that'd be great. Otherwise, I mean, Jamie and I and Debbie will talk it over, see where our money's going to be, especially because we're going to get this new reallocation of maybe $50,000, something like that. We need to see where that money's going to go and talk with Lori and those folks to see where they think that money should go, or if we can spend it. So there's a lot of questions in the equation here that haven't been answered yet, but I just want to let you all know, since this is the committee that's going to make that decision ultimately.
Hey, Tony, this is Jill Michael. Since I'm fairly new to this part, for the incumbent worker, do they come to us for that, or do we search that out?
A little bit of both. Lately, we've been having conversations with IMEC. They got Ryan Langdon in our southern counties and Rob Nebold in our northern counties. And we've dealt a lot with Courtney Yockey. He was the executive director for Richland County Economic Development. He has since moved to Effingham. So we've got a lot of relationships out there that they are the ones that are initially talking to businesses. And most of the time, a lot of the time, I'm not going to say most of the time, a lot of the time, when they get an appointment with a business, they will invite us to go with them just to get our foot in the door. And that's kind of how it happens. But to answer your question, they normally come to us.
Okay.
So that's
Well,
why
I
it's so
heard
important.
TPS from Jasper County mentioned, and of course, we're not very far from Alney, so I have Mac Plastics, but like I was wondering, since like Evapco is part of Jasper County and Cumberland County, if that would be one of the possibilities for Evapco.
Absolutely. We just did they did lean manufacturing training last year that we funded.
Okay.
So yeah, the one at the plant in Greenup.
Okay. That's all my questions.
That's all I got, Debbie. You can move on.
Okay. Hey, Tony, speaking of TPS, has an email been sent out about that one? I know Magura went out, it seems like. So I didn't know, since we're meeting, if need to just go ahead and approve that one now while or if you want to just send out email like all the others.
I've already sent out an email.
Okay, perfect.
Well, I think I've got everybody's response back too. I have to look in the folder, but I'm pretty sure I've gotten everyone's response.
Okay. All right. If no other questions on incumbent worker, then we shall move on to the COVID-19 emergency assistance report. There's been very little change since the last time, but we did finish up Versatech. They submitted their final invoices, so we did get them marked off the list. So right now we only have 1 more business that we are waiting on. Moultrie County Counseling. They had they were supposed to be getting a new phone system, and there were issues with the vendor. So that's sort of been the holdup, but So we're just waiting on getting that final information and hopefully can get that one taken care of and can finish up this grant. So any questions on that one? Okay. And the last few items are just sort of informational sort of things. DCO annual monitoring. We haven't received any official dates yet, but we are still anticipating May. We're still thinking it's going to be virtual or remote, but we have not received any details at this time. So new funding, Tony sort of touched on it earlier, but there is potential for us receiving an additional 50 or so thousand extra dislocated worker funds that would get added to the current grant. But we are waiting for final numbers from DCO. This came out a few weeks ago and they said there was a range. So until they finalized what that range was, then that would then determine how much each of the areas got. But it pretty well ranged, maybe 40 to 60,000. So we're just thinking it could be in the $50,000 range whenever it's all said and done. So in addition to that new funding, there is the ability to apply for additional dislocated worker projects, but we're waiting on further clarification on a few questions that we had from DCO before we proceed further and sort of throw that out there for businesses and community members in our area to get more info on that. So the PY20 budget process, just wanted to let you know, it's getting about that time of the year. So probably be starting that month or so from now. Mid to late April is typically about the time frame. So that will be coming up shortly. And then the last item, the mid-year review with DCO. We talked with Annie at DCO a couple weeks ago, and we reviewed where we stand as far as the obligation levels, like we saw in that key metrics, and the percentage requirements, like we saw with the youth for the work experience. Just sort of reviewed where we stood. Some of the issues that we are having, other areas are having similar issues, but we are hoping to hear back from DCO some ideas that other areas that maybe aren't having the issues, that maybe they can give suggestions on how we can get those numbers bumped up. So, but it was a good talk overall with DCO, just to sort of make sure that everybody was on the same page. So, and that is all that I have. Any questions overall?
Can I get a motion to approve the reports as given to us by Debbie today?
This is Chris, so moved.
And a second, please?
Jill Michael, second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those
Aye.
opposed, same sign.
Mike, I need to actually do a roll call for that one, if we can.
Okay, we'll do that too.
Okay. All right, roll call vote. Kevin Busher,
Yes.
Mike Conley, Mike Conley, are you okay with the,
Yes, I'm sorry. I think I
Okay.
muted myself instead of unmuting myself.
that's okay. Mike Conrad,
Yes.
Patty Metzger, Jill Michael,
Yes.
Deacon Patient, Chris Stroll,
Yes.
Kim Taylor,
Yes.
Carol Tracy, Jennifer Wagner,
Yes.
Connie Waldrop.
Yes.
Okay, I think we're good.
Fantastic. Current LWIA 23 performance report, please.
Okay, I'm going to share my screen with you right now. Normally, we would have sent this in the packet. Jamie, you're going to have to turn on.
I'm doing it right now. Should be good now.
Ready? Okay, can everybody see that? Can you see that, Jamie?
Yes, we can see it.
I
I
can
can
see it.
see it.
Okay. Currently, this is our performance report. This is through program Q4, which would be June 30th of this year. We've got a couple of areas where there's some concern there. For the adults, we're either meeting or exceeding all of those performance measures. The dislocated worker, we're exceeding all of those, meeting one. And then the bottom one, we are failing that measure by just a very slight percentage. So by the end of June, I think we will have that once the fall or spring semester ends and customers are finishing with their classes, we'll be able to go in and put in those skills gains, and that should not be a problem for us. If you go up to the youth, the one that we are failing is the youth credential attainment rate. We're off a little bit there. We have went in, we've identified 6 of our customers who we feel that 3 of them should not probably be in that measure at all. And then another 3 should probably be in both the numerator and denominator for those, or for that credential. We have notified the state and they are aware of the discrepancy and they will be reviewing that for us. If all of those do get changed, we will probably be meeting those, that one also. So that's kind of where we're at right now. This is a time of year, you know, you might see a fail or 2. What really matters will be at the end of June, what the overall outcome will be for us. So that's where we're at right now.
Fantastic. Any questions? Okay, Tony, program fiscal monitoring report.
I just got finished doing the program monitoring for CEFS. I took 20% of their new files since the last time I monitored, which was last March. Did all the desk reviews, went down there, looked through the file. There were no findings, so that's the important thing. There were a couple kind of clerical errors that have been cleared up. Just got to give kudos to CEFS in their process of getting somebody from eligibility through training through exit. They're kind of unmatched in that category. So kudos to them. We have fiscal monitoring set up for CEFS the week of the 29th, I believe. Deb and I will go down there and look over their expenditures and their processes and make sure everything's on the up and up. And we'll have a report on that come June. That's all I got.
Fantastic. Thank you, Tony. Training program certifications.
We keep this on the agenda just in case something comes up in between meetings. But fortunately or unfortunately, however you want to look at it, there are none at this time.
Perfect.
Hey, Tony, do we need to
Yeah.
approve the?
Right. I was going to try to get, I've done both at the same time, maybe. That's what I was shooting for.
Gotcha.
Okay, let's go ahead and I need a motion to approve Tony's program fiscal monitoring report.
Mike Conley, so moved.
I need a second, please.
Kim Taylor, second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Excellent, thank you. Okay, how about the Adult Education Area Planning Committee by Jamie?
Thank you. Before I go into that, Chris, can I have you give a quick overview on what exactly the Adult Education Area Planning Council reports are?
Absolutely. Each year, ICCB requires that every adult education provider in the state of Illinois puts a plan together for the following fiscal year. So our plan was due to ICCB by the end of January, and we get approval of our plan, and our plan starts in July, the beginning of the fiscal year. That plan includes things like who are we going to partner with, who have we partnered with and will continue to partner with, where will we be offering services in our service delivery area, what will we be doing with students, will we just be providing GED classes, ESL classes, ICAPS training, apprenticeship models, anything like that. So really it is a benchmark for us to put forward for our programs and then to follow through with those programs through the fiscal year each year.
Thank you. So included in the packet of information for you guys for this meeting today included the IECC APC, alphabet soup, the Kaskaskia APC, and the Lakeland College APC. I'm sure you were all riveted to read all of those. And that was the first thing you did, like on a bright sunny morning, was let's read through them. What our job as the LWIA is to make sure that all of those APCs align with our regional plan. So during your review, did anything pop out to you as not in alignment with our regional plan? Me either. So I don't think we have to do an official approval, just if you have concerns to raise them. But from my review, everything looked good, and it sounds like it did to you all as well. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other business to report on? I'm going to take that as a no. Date and time for our next meeting, Debbie.
Okay, the next one we have planned will be June 17th. And fingers crossed, it will be 4:30 p.m. in person at CEFS.
We can only hope so. Any public comment? Okay, then I will need a motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion. Kevin.
And a second, please.
This is
I will.
Kim.
Motion is meeting is adjourned. Thank you, guys and gals.
Thank you. Have a
Thank
great week.
All right.
Thank you all, everyone. Thanks.